I think we have a lot of there's a lot of talk around EX, the employee
Mm,
experience, right? There's a lot of talk around the customer experience. And there's been these things like unified that says like, you can try to get them to work together kind of thing. To me, the real thing is meshing them into what I call an orchestrated experience. And
yep.
I think that's what's next. That's what the evolution is, right?
Mhm.
When you say is there a bigger impact on AI on the front end or AI on the back end with the agent? I think the answer has to be yes.
Yeah.
We have to make that less of a handoff, less of a bridge, less of a. And I hear all these terms that, well, we work together. Or it needs to, and I know it's probably overused, but it needs to be seamless.
Welcome to the Press One for Nick podcast. My name's Nick Glimsdahl, and my guest this week is Brandon Knight. He is the head of CX ecosystem at Zoom. So he leads the go-to market strategy for customer experience product suite, which includes contact centers as a service, virtual agents, workforce engagement management, and AI. So if you are curious about how Zoom is shaping the future of customer experience and where AI fits into the equation, you want to stick around for this one. So with that, Brandon, welcome to the Press One for Nick podcast. I do want to jump right in there because I got a whole lot of questions in a little bit of time. But
Let's
you
do
ready to
it.
get started?
Yes, sir. That's it. Thanks for having me. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. All right. So the first question I got for you is, really just how did you get started in the contact center space, and really just what drew you to Zoom specifically?
Well, this is gonna be fun because this is right off the bat. This is a press one for Nick exclusive. I have never told this story on camera before. There are
Let's
a couple
go.
people that know how I got into the contact center space, but never, mass produced or a podcast or anything. Because it's kind of funny. I was actually right out of grad school. I was managing a doctor's office in the city of Philadelphia, and I
Mm,
was, young guy, 22, 23 years old. I was in the hospitals by 4 o'clock in the morning, done my day by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All my friends were still working. I was bored. I wanted to do something. My sister worked at a contact center. Didn't even know what that was. The only thing she told me was they're hiring all the time. So I went in there as a contractor first, and I worked the 3 to 11 shift. And then I became a part timer. And after about 5 months, I literally resigned from a job as the general manager of one of the fifth largest medical practice in the city of Philadelphia, and I went and
dang.
became a contact center agent. That's how I got into contact centers, and I worked my way up, team lead, supervisor, all the way
Yeah.
up to leadership. Um, so that's how I got into the contact center space, and then I became a consultant. What actually led me to Zoom, I was in the channel space working at TSD, and Zoom attempted to acquire, Five9, and that didn't go
Hmm.
through, but that would have kind of shaken up our space a little bit. But then when Zoom announced that they were going to build their own, that interests me.
Mm,
That opportunity to build something from scratch and kind of change the game a little bit. I know everybody says that, but I think you can really be a disruptor when you're doing it from ground zero. And I
yeah.
I, I wanted to be part of that selfishly. So so that's why I came here.
That's cool. So I think in the market, in the CCaaS market, just over the last 2.5, 3 years, you kind of mentioned Zoom was trying to potentially acquire Five9. It ended up not working out, and so they decided to build their own from the
Yeah,
ground up, which is why Brandon Knight is sitting here today talking about how awesome ZCX is. But
yeah,
I think there's a lot of misconception of Zoom in the marketplace, the CCaaS in general, not just manufacturer to manufacturer, but really just the customer service leaders who maybe saw it when it was at its infancy. The
yeah,
first 6 months in, and these sales reps are saying, "Hey, you should check out our new contact center," and you demo it, and maybe it wasn't up to snuff. But
yeah.
what's the biggest misconception that you see right now about Zoom Contact Center?
I think you nailed it. The biggest the biggest misconception is twofold. One is, how we started off. It was we bust onto the scene, and a lot of those earlier demos, earlier sessions were the first iterations of the product, right? But probably the biggest misconception is, to me, I think it has to do with, because the price is so low, I think customers automatically assume that it must be a low feature product,
Mm,
that it must be an SMB type product, because did not we did not create a price point that was equal to the established players, and that was on purpose. We talked about it in house. This is no offense to anybody else, but our owner kind of likened it in the early days. He used to talk to us like about Nike sneakers. They really don't cost $200 to make, and they probably shouldn't cost. Nothing against Nike. I love I love them. I love the shoes, but we felt that. So I think a lot of people look at the price point and they think, well, maybe all the features aren't there, or maybe it's not a competitive product, or maybe it doesn't have all the integrations, and they could not be further from the truth.
mhm. So, I kind of want to go back and then go forward. So,
Hmm.
with that in mind, what's different even in the last 12 months that with Zoom Contact Center, and I feel like, you know, the Zoom Contact Center specifically, and I'll just speak personally, right? Like I feel like it's aging in dog years. Like it's consistent, it's
Facts.
growing so fast, and all of a sudden it's now a 20-year-old company. It's only 4 years old, right? Like it's
Yes.
so what's changed in the last 12 months? If you can remember back,
Yeah,
that
12 months ago seems like 10 months ago now, or,
yeah.
or 5 years ago. It's so crazy. I was actually at an event last week,
Mm,
and someone asked about a product or a feature, and they said, like, when will you guys get that? And I said, oh, we actually rolled that out like 5 months ago. And they said, well, I saw that was on your roadmap, like just like I said, yeah, that's the thing. I said, I literally go, we have these internal product meetings. I probably spend about 6 to 8 hours a week in those meetings, because they tell us like what they're working on, what's coming out, and it's the pace of it. I think at one point we were doing like 30 features a month. I think we're
mm,
probably around 15 to 20 now. But so I think when I look at what has changed, this is it's kind of mind-boggling, because I feel like we went from, anybody know what AI is in the
yeah,
contact center space? We went from, is AI real for contact center? We went to chatbots, to Gen AI, and now agentic AI. And I feel like it was a blink of an eye,
yeah,
that we went through that evolution of AI. We went from, can we make chatbots better, to now they have agentic agents that do the work for you. And that was really all in the last like 9 months,
right,
so that's crazy to me to see that happen. And then to think about what's that going to be 3 months from now, 6 months from
yeah,
now. So
yeah.
that's probably
That's
the fastest evolution.
Yeah, I mean, AI is for sure the buzzword, but it
Yeah.
also it does solve for outcomes that you're hoping to solve for with the right use cases.
Yes.
Um, so from your perspective, where does Zoom see the most value of AI right now? Is it customer facing? Is it on the back end where it's agent facing? Is it routing, agent assist? Is it the reporting? Like from your perspective, what does that look like?
That's a great question, and I think it's one that's actually being actively debated right now,
Yeah,
because like the stuff I mentioned, with agentic AI is more like front end, and people are worried about like, will it replace agents.
mm,
But then on the back end, even with expert assist, we've gotten to the point now where we started off, it was like just ping a database and bring something up for a screen. Agent can
yeah,
read that, right?
yeah.
Now you can listen to the call in real time, compare what that agent is talking about and the customer's talking about to your best agents that you've created this
Mhm.
AI model of, and then, tell the agent, hey, you should say this, or bring up the right thing, instead of telling the agent where to go look, bring it up for them, prompt them. So I'm still looking at that back end stuff. I still think, and I just thought about this. This is gonna be another press one for Nick exclusive, because I'm pitching a term internally that I've never said in public. Hopefully my CMO signs off on it by the time we air this. But I think we have there's a lot of talk around EX, the employee
Mm,
experience, right? There's a lot of talk around the customer experience. And there's been these things like unified. It says like, you can try to get them to work together kind of thing. To me, the real thing is meshing them into what I call an orchestrated experience. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's next. That's what the evolution is, right?
Mhm.
When you say is there a bigger impact on AI on the front end or AI on the back end with the agent? I think the answer has to be yes. We
Yeah.
have to make that less of a handoff, less of a bridge, less of a. And I hear all these terms that, well, we work together. It needs to, and I know it's probably overused, but it needs to be seamless
Yeah.
for the true experience. It needs to be seamless. The what fulfillment needs to happen on the back end to make what that person on the front end told that customer. w- Uh, we got to get a lot better. You know,
Sure.
I feel
Yeah.
like as an industry, we need to get a lot better. So orchestrated
So
experiences. You guys heard it here first. That's what I'm putting out there. We're
yeah,
gonna
don't copyright it before Brandon does. Just get out there
exactly.
and do it before I hit stop. Go. We'll pause
Yeah.
this real quick. But so crystal ball this for me.
Mhm.
AI will take over majority 50.1% of all interactions by what year?
Wow.
Is it 3 years out? Is it 5 years out? Is it 10 years out?
I think the trigger for me in what you just asked was the percentage, the
Yeah.
50%.
So
I think
majority, right? 50.1.
yeah, yeah. If I'm going 50.1, I'm going 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Five to
Yeah.
seven years.
And it's
Um,
only going to continue to escalate that. So it's
yes.
kind of hard to project that, but I put you on the
Yeah.
spot, so I'm glad that you at least gave me a range.
Yeah.
You could have been like, "That's shenanigans, Nick." Why are you asking me that question?
No,
It could
no.
be.
Hey, listen. I got to step up. Like, who was it? Salesforce's. I think
Yeah,
it's Salesforce, right? The
y-
Salesforce owner who said that he believes this is the last generation that will be leading a purely human workforce, and
yeah,
I don't know that I disagree with him.
yeah. He even said that most of his developers will need to reskill to something else because he believes that majority of those developers will be replaced by some type of
Yeah,
AI.
yeah.
Um,
And can I
s-
on that? Can I do a quick plug?
sure.
Real fast.
Yeah,
I found out about a program from our owner
yeah.
that CEOs in the tech space are driving, and I think we should put more information out there around it. There's a push by a group of CEOs to make computer science and AI training required course in high school.
Mm,
Not just an elective, not just nice to have. Um, and I think it's tremendous. I don't know who's behind it or anything like that. So I apologize for that. But I heard about it, and I think we're doing ourselves and our future generations a disservice if we still think the knowledge of how computers work, the knowledge of how software works is a nicety or an option. It
yeah.
is a must to have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Well, if you send me that information, I'll make sure it's in the show notes.
Okay.
And we'll get that in there. So kind of staying back on that on the ZCX side,
Mhm.
of what you can talk about and kind of pull the curtain back of what's been presented or at least projected from a timeline perspective. What are you most excited about when it comes to that Zoom contact center in the next 6 months?
Well, the next 6 months. I'm
Because that's like 5 dog years, right?
Yeah, I
So
was gonna say the next 6 months. That's like that's tomorrow. There's a couple of cool things
yeah,
that Zoom has introduced in the last I would say 4 or 5 months that maybe were on the workplace side or the EX
yeah.
side that they're
Hmm.
bringing into the CX side. I want to say. I'll give you an example. There's notes and tasks that are active. We now have like Zoom Docs, so but they're bringing that stuff and incorporating it into the contact center space that I like. One that I'm really excited about is there's one called Zoom Clinical Notes, and it's super cool because nobody has even attempted to tackle this space simply because the words in the healthcare, the medical space are insane to say. So when he's talking like transcribing, they're like, they could, what
Yeah.
did that doctor just say, right? So you can't really do it easily. So it took quite a while to develop, but we now have a feature, and it was designed for back office clinical staff to just like run while the doctor's talking to the patient. It'll do the transcription, put it in the patient file, tell the nurses and other staff if there's action steps to take, what medications the person's taking. It'll do all that stuff.
Mm,
I'm looking forward to that coming a little bit closer in the contact space, and the healthcare contact centers being able to use that. The health insurance contact center
mm,
companies being able to use that and get more accurate summaries from their interactions, whether it's things like teledoc and those types of things.
yeah.
I think that's the next logical step for that product. But yeah, so for me, I kind of like you said, there's a bunch of developers, that are sitting, around creating all these things. And I like
Mm,
to see one of the things at Zoom is they want them to be holistic. So we don't simply
yeah.
create something and say, oh, well, that's only for over there, only for over there. I get to play with it and see it and figure out how it can be incorporated into the CX world.
Yeah, I do see a lot of value in that with the whole teledoc. I mean, ultimately,
Yeah,
time is money for those doctors. If you think of, a big practice, you could save 2, 3 minutes here, just like a contact center agent. You can save through that summarization of that interaction with a
absolutely.
doctor. They're going to the next patient instead of sitting in the hallway typing up the next note, or the eye doctor for that matter. You can see them all sitting out in the rows
Yeah,
with their booth for
yeah,
their computer, and they're
yeah.
trying to type it out on their tablet. But if you just had somebody sitting in, one of my kiddos has an eye doctor,
Mhm.
and there's somebody in there taking notes with him, but they're literally
Yeah,
typing it with the computer. It's a mobile system,
yeah,
and they walk around. But if you could just record it, um, and talk about those next steps, you could create a prompt that potentially says, "Here's the output that I want it to do."
yeah.
Um, you could maybe see another 3, 4 more patients throughout the day, and then what
Exactly.
does that actually do from an outcome perspective?
Yeah, exactly. There's always someone in there transcribing. I even was talking to my dentist about this. I had one of my checkups. I'm doing something similar to Invisalign,
Mhm.
and there's a process when you get your teeth cleaned or you go to exam the first time, where the dentist is in your mouth calling out numbers, basically calling out measurements.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
where your gum is, and there's someone else either writing them down or at a computer putting them in to me. And how many more patients could they see
Yeah.
if that other person didn't have to be in the room with them, and it was fast and it was automated and it was accurate? So there's so many use cases for this that I'm excited to bring it out.
Yeah. So we've talked for a few minutes here on the AI side. So
Mhm.
how do you make sure that it's not just about the AI, right? It's also
Of
about the
course.
human touch. So how do you make sure that you're blending in both the AI, um, the machine that's working in the background to drive efficiencies, but also
Mhm.
having the personal touch along with that?
Yeah.
Are you guys constantly kind of playing the black and white, or the
You know what?
pull on that?
It's Yeah, there it is something that we talk about. I literally just talked about this yesterday with one of my colleagues. We it seems kind of simple to say, but you have to practice it. We do it with priority. And the same way that I think an advisor like yourself who's a true consultant does
Mm,
with the clients that you help, right? You know AA is out there and you know the things that it can do, just like there's CX technology and the things that it can do.
yeah,
But you don't go to your clients and I'm gonna sell you some AI today,
yeah,
right? And you know what I mean? Like you're having consultative conversations with your clients, figuring out if there's gaps, if there's opportunities for them to be more efficient or to be more customer centric or to be
yeah,
more profitable, whatever they're trying to do. And then you go back and say, now that I know what they're trying to do operationally, there might be some technology that can help them. Internally, we're saying, how could businesses be better operationally? And is there a missing technology that could help them? And whether it's AI or otherwise, we want all of the technology to be, and it goes back to what, as corny as it says, but these things are literally painted on the walls in our buildings.
Yeah.
Our owner is about customers being happy. So one of
Yeah.
our internal things is very simple. Will this make a customer happy? Will this allow a business to make their clients or customers happy? Then it kind of makes sense. I think AI is great. I think it's wildly it's growing like weeds all over the place, right? And that's exciting, but AI for the sake of AI isn't exciting at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like somebody turning on a chatbot just because their leadership came back from a conference and says, "Hey, you need a chatbot." And that was, 5, 6, 10 years ago. And you turn on
Exactly.
chatbot, and all of a sudden you're giving away a free SUV.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
right, like, and they're like, "No, no, no, I was just kidding. I didn't mean that." And you're like, "Well, you put my bonus on that I needed AI or I needed a chatbot, so
Exactly.
I just turned this on." Like, this is the
Yeah.
best effort. It's not, and that's not good enough.
No, it's not good, but what you just explained, unfortunately, I hear it so much
Yeah.
from customers that just have they have either a contact center leader or CEOs that went somewhere or they saw a commercial or they heard about, the dreaded "my competitor does this," you know?
Yeah.
And so they tell them, "Go get AI. We need that." Like it's a something you can buy in a box off the shelf and bring me back that
Yeah, like
AI.
it's a rose bush or some begonias that you're supposed to plant and set it and forget it,
Exactly,
right?
and then it's gonna be great. Imma put it in the
Yeah,
ground, and
I
it's gonna
got
it's gonna
this.
be great.
Nailed it, right?
So
You don't flower, you don't water it, you don't put soil down or compost. You're just like, I got it. And all of a
I
sudden,
got it, I
30
got it.
months down the
Now
road,
my
the
boss
thing's
will stop
dead.
asking me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I already did it.
Mm,
All right. So with that in mind, like the whole set it and forget it model
mhm,
is not good. I feel like Um, and I call it, and you can copyright this too.
mm.
I'm gonna continue to use it, but I call it the go
Fair enough.
live gap, right? Like there's a gap where the market that I see. So I would say majority of our clients have already gone to the cloud once, and I feel like
Yeah,
what does that mean? That means that um, they have either got bamboozled on the front end that the product isn't going to do what they say it's going to do. It wasn't
mhm,
implemented correctly, and it doesn't provide ongoing support to maximize that investment. And those are three really big things to
mhm.
make sure you get right. And so they're just like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the next stack to make sure that it's the right fit. So,
Yeah.
from your perspective, what does great post go live support actually look like for clients to maximize their investment?
Yeah, I think to maximize your investment, post go live to me
Yeah.
starts with an accurate, realistic expectation pre-sale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What am I really going to get out of this? What is the technology actually going to do? And what do I have in place to improve user adoption?
Mm.
So to me, there's some components of that, right? All of which, and I'll say this for the contact center leaders out there. I say this to people all the time. When it comes to digital transformation, this is not the time to let your pride cost you money.
Mm.
Don't go it alone. I had a great she was actually a human resource leader years ago when I was a contact center leader. And she said, when it comes to human resource things, you got to think of it as deep water. Nobody scuba dives alone. Nobody goes out swimming in deep water alone. She said,
Mhm.
so when you have to do stuff like that, don't go it alone. Take an HR partner with you or, one of your colleagues at work. I feel the same thing for contact center leaders. You and don't and listen, I'm gonna say this on camera. Nick did not tell me to say this, okay? But I'm going to tell you, don't go this alone, okay?
Mm.
You want Nick to go with you. You want someone that's been down that path. I think sometimes contact center leaders are, like, well, our situation is too unique, or no one knows about it, or we're very different, or I've been doing it this way for this long, and we're
Yeah.
making money. All those things I think are pitfalls, quite frankly
Yeah. Mhm.
and people try to go out. So that's my thing. I think if you want a great post sale implementation or support, get yourself a true consultative advisor on the front end
Yeah.
because they'll help set expectations not just for you but for me as a vendor, right? Where
Mm.
the partner makes sure we all stay on the same page. They make sure because in practical terms depending on what you're implementing, it could be something that you and the partner can run on their own. It could be something that you're going to need one of my technical account managers, or you're going to need extended professional services, or you may even need managed services outside of me as a vendor. You may need a
Mm.
third party managed services. It depends on the complexity of what you're doing, and you having realistic milestones that you hit. And that only happens if you know what success looks like, right?
Yeah.
And I can look, I'm pretty good, but I'm not going to be as good as a third party partner who's making sure everyone stays aligned, right? I can control my side of the fence, but
Yeah.
I think someone needs to herd these cats. So
Yeah.
best post sale implementation for me is get the pre sale right.
Yeah. New podcast episode title, Herd These Cats.
Yeah, there you go. I love
S
it.
so and I like what you said there about don't let your pride get away and get in the way of your success. Like,
Yeah.
that is a real conversation. That's an article for you to write here in the future, because I think there's so much truth in that, and I think it
Yeah.
needs to be said and or written and spoke 100 times at your
Mhm.
next speaking engagement because
Yeah.
and I'm not it's not just the VDS team or somebody else. Like, it
Yeah.
is just matter of fact. Like, you just need to find a way to do it right the first time. So,
Yeah.
uh, I think the ZCX platform is a great platform.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're not going to lean on Zoom Direct, or you're not going to lean on a partner like VDS, you're just going to go through it at best effort again. And
Yeah.
you were talking about the release notes, the things that are coming up on the roadmaps. Like, what if you're
Yeah.
releasing 50 things a month every single year? How are you making sure that they're aligning to your outcomes?
Right.
And you're so focused on running your business, you have these horse blinders on, and but I
Exactly.
can keep on going on, but I like what you said there. You touched on just the partners, and I want to chat a little bit about Zoom Up. I mean,
Okay.
you've had Zoom Up for a little bit, and I think
Mhm.
you've revamped it, put a new coat of paint
Yeah.
on it, and put some nice new windows,
Mhm.
tint, not necessarily spinners, but we're looking good now. But I'd love
Yes.
to hear your thoughts on Zoom Up and why that's important.
Yeah. I think Zoom Up is important, I'm gonna make a statement, and they might be a popular statement, and I'll say for disclaimer, this is not a VDS statement. This is a Brandon Knight statement, okay?
Yeah.
All partners are not created equal. All right. No matter how much they think, we're all the same, we're all do the same thing. We don't. And that's not a knock. That is my reality, having been in the channel, for a bit now. Right. You have the partners that they kind of hear about something. I think it might be an opportunity. I'm gonna register it and throw it over the fence, and then good luck, guys. Hopefully it works out. Pay me when you finish doing all the work. And you have the myriad in between, and then you have the partners who are doing true consultation. They have a relationship with their customers. They're evaluating different technologies. They're not doing the New York City street corner guy with all the watches under his jacket, right? They're really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not a Vanna White thing. It
Yeah.
is real engagement. To me, the Zoom Up program allows us to distinguish between them and then reward the ones that are doing, in my terms, what I call the right way.
Mm.
If you're doing true consultation, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, even as a partner, if I'm a partner who's investing in my clients, and I have people on my team who are studying the technology, they're becoming experts, they're getting these certifications, I'm doing digital transformation and customer journey mapping. I don't think there's anything wrong with my time and effort should be compensated differently than this guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Zoom Up program allows us to do.
Got it. Yeah. I think it's a and I feel like you also differentiate yourself in the marketplace too, because
Yeah,
the more that you lean into those partners, the hopefully it's the right ones. You can always there's always going to be a bad apple or two
of
in
course.
in the process, and there's always going to be the handful that what you get when you throw in the opportunity over the fence
Yeah,
and keep I call those the trunk slammers, right? But
yeah,
um, but ultimately, if you can grow that partnership, I feel like you're going to gain more of the right partners because
Yes.
they see the value of what you're trying to build. And it might not be perfect, and I don't think any manufacturer has the right partner program, but
Right.
ultimately you got to strive for excellence for that partner experience. So maybe
Yeah.
there's an orchestrated experience for the partner program as well, and that
There you go. There you go. We'll figure that out. Got to get that
yeah.
trademarked here.
Yes.
All
So, last, I think we could have an awesome conversation. I got 4 lightning round questions for you. So,
right.
uh, take a deep breath, and I'm gonna run at you quick.
All right.
So, what's the biggest lesson you've learned working with CX leaders over the last 12 months?
The biggest lesson I've learned working with
CX leaders.
CX leaders over the last 12 months.
Mhm.
Um, wow. Rapid fire. They are not all the same either. Kind of like partners. There's different levels, there's different skill sets, and different drivers. Some of
Yeah.
them are driven by customer experience, some of them are driven by what their boss told them they need to happen, some of them are driven by what the competitor is doing.
Mhm.
There's a lot more flexibility in why they're doing what they're trying to do um, than I first thought.
Got it. What's one metric you think is overrated?
Average handle time, that's an easy one.
That was an easy one.
Yeah, yeah.
I should have given you that. What's 2? No, I'm just kidding. So
that-
the next one is, what's one customer story that has really stuck with you here over the last, 6 months?
um, I, I, it's funny because when you do rapid fire, the first thing that comes to my mind, I can't actually say because it was a horrible experience that I had as a customer, and that was the first thing that came to my mind. I don't want to put that on
Yeah, yeah.
your program, so I'll tell you another one. A customer we were doing regular contact center stuff for them, and I happened to be with this partner in a meeting, and there was somebody from HR there who was evaluating something else we were doing. And out of the blue, she said, "Hey, I wish you guys made something for us." So she said, "I have to do all these interviews. I'm recruiting, and I have to put all these notes. I put my notes in Excel, and then I got to try to remember who said what and how many years of experience they had and stuff like that." And I told her, I said, you can use the AI companion for that. You can use our quality program for that. The quality program doesn't care what type of interaction it is or the type of call. It doesn't have to be customer service. You can program it, tell it what to listen for, it'll score it for you and all this. And she was just like, and it sounds weird. It's like, oh, you're selling a product, but no. What was exciting was that there was a customer with a problem, you
Yeah,
know, and I was able to get her to think differently about the technology to solve her problem. She doesn't need context center technology, but
yeah,
she can use a quality program for what she wants,
yeah.
so I enjoyed that.
That's cool. What's your favorite Zoom feature that nobody talks about?
Oh, wow. Favorite Zoom feature that no one talks about. Oh my goodness. Well, it's not really fair to say no one talks about it because a lot of people do talk about it. But
Mm,
my favorite feature help is one that helps me out personally.
'kay.
I am often back to back in meetings or traveling.
Mm,
And unfortunately, sometimes I'm a little bit late getting to some meetings, or some I miss altogether. The fact that the companion thing evolved from just taking summary notes
yeah,
to actually being able to do it in real time. So when I go in, I don't upset everybody by asking them what they've been talking about for the last 10 minutes. Or much worse, I would say like, hey guys, was there anything for me or did you miss me? Now I can just get a real time update and it'll tell me if somebody mentioned my name or something like that. So um I say that's my favorite feature, but I will say this, I'm trying to get better. So I don't want people to think like I just use the feature and I'm just going to accept being late to meetings. So, but for me personally, I probably use that a lot more than most people.
nice. So if you could talk to all of the customer service leaders right now, and they're all on different platforms,
Mhm,
outside of the ones you're current closing and crushing right now, but,
mhm,
um, give me a Brandon Knight pitch for Zoom Contact Center to
mhm.
all of these customer experience leaders who are frustrated with their current state and, why they should be looking at Zoom Contact Center.
I would tell you, you should be looking at Zoom Contact Center um, because you're frustrated with your current state, actually. But in reality, I think back to, like I said before, how I got involved in the contact center, right? And as a
Yeah.
contact center leader, um, one of my first, and this is only one thing. There's so many different reasons, but this is one feature that I would appreciate if I had it then. When I was running a contact center, and I was running a BPO, that was the first contact center I became a manager in. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, because it was a BPO, if even if I take out the HR system, the time clock system, and the payroll system, my agent still had 13 systems to log into,
Yeah.
and probably about 50 screens to do their job. And I know that might not seem, if you're not in a contact center, then you don't know that frustration, that aggravation. But for me, one of the main pitches for Zoom's contact center is that the app is one app and everything's in there. Not just the Zoom contact center, the Zoom phone, the meetings, the events, the webinars, the chat, everything's in one place. And that may sound like, whoa, whoop-de-doo. But for an agent who has to manage multiple calls, multiple questions, for a supervisor who's used to logging into a QA system and logging into an HR system and then logging into an internal chat system and then trying to monitor the stats, I'm telling you, I'll put my operations hat on for a second as a contact center leader. I think one of the biggest things about Zoom is it's one login, one screen for everything.
Got it. Sounds good. Well, I'll clip that little small part and I'll just send it to the world.
There
We'll
you
see
go.
what happens. But
There
uh,
you go.
Brandon, I always appreciate the conversation. And looking forward to seeing what you guys are up to here in the next year, and we'll keep an eye on it. But appreciate your time, and we'll talk to us here soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. And I appreciate what you do. I love more. I think there should be more of this straight talk stuff in our industry, not necessarily, you know, selling things or rushing to market things. I think the conversations are good, the education is good. I like the helpful aspect of what you're doing. So appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Brandon.